Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Glory to God and welcome. I want to thank God for being here for this time of prayer. And Lord, thank you for all that has been accomplished through our prayers tonight. We praise your marvelous name. Want to also welcome everybody that is joining us now online. Amen. And to be here for this final session of our estate planning workshop that has been tremendous, and we are very, very thankful for that. And once again, just want to thank everybody who has come in person as well as those online to be a part of this. Certainly want to remind folks online that we're in tonight the seventh session. And so you certainly can go back online on the website, I Am So Noted, and pick up those other sessions and just have a full, good understanding of this subject of estate planning because all of us have an estate, amen. And all of us need to have a plan related to that, okay? And so that is what it is all about. We're excited that our teacher is in our midst tonight, and she has done a fabulous job across the weeks on this, and we've just been tremendously blessed here at New Horizon Rankin related to that. And so without further ado, I want to bring our teacher forth, Dr. Sabrina Edmon Williams. She's going to come, and once again, certainly we're pushing her book too. If you hadn't got a book yet, please do that. Learning to Trust, and a valuable tool, okay? So let's give Dr. Williams a round of applause as she comes.
Good evening. Thank you, Bishop. Good evening. Good evening. I tell you, I worked overtime today. I literally worked up to almost time to get here on this presentation, but I thought it was so important that we end with this information because it's one thing for us to learn about an estate, learn how to properly transfer our estate, but we also need to know how to protect it as well. And so for those of you that may be just joining us for the first time, I am Dr. Sabrina Edmon Williams, educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted, and I am so excited and so delighted to be here with you today. I'm on a podcast a couple of times a week, and one of my co-panelists told me she was talking, and she said, and I out of nowhere, I just said, and I'm so excited and so delighted to be here. She said I was channeling my inner you earlier today. So we are excited to be here tonight. Again, we all know that by now that I am not a JD, I am a PhD. The information that we are providing is not legal advice. It is for educational purposes. And we want to make sure that we do continue to let people know that we are here to educate. If you have not been a part of the previous 6-week sessions, as Bishop said, they are available for review on my website, not my website, I'm sorry, on my YouTube channel. I Am So Noted. We have covered a lot of information in the past 6 weeks, and we certainly invite you and encourage you to go back and review that information. We decided to do this bonus week, protecting your estate from scammers. Because if you remember, those of us that have been here, we talked about something that first week about the reasons why people do not like to even talk about or think about estate planning. And one of the reasons is because we don't like to talk about or think about death. You know, everybody wants to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die. We want Jesus to come back and just get us, I guess, get caught up, you know. But the reality is that some of us really just don't like to think about it, nor do we like to talk about it. We prefer to just do nothing, take the nothing approach to estate planning. And guess what? There are people out there that are really excited that some of us want to take this approach. You know why? Because we may not have a plan for our estate, but they certainly have a plan for our estate. So this evening, if you will allow me to, we're going to try to get through these 7 ways that people can scam us out of the things that we've worked for. Imagine that. Bishop, we got folks that sit around. They actually make their living off the stuff that you made your living working for. Imagine that. Okay, so the first type of scam that I want to talk about is called estate impersonation scams. Estate impersonation scams. So I'm going to tell you what they are. This is a type of real estate fraud where scammers pose as you. They pose as you. They say they own your stuff. Okay? They pose so that they can illegally sell or steal the proceeds from the sale. This is a real thing, you guys. People sit around and they come up with ways of coming up with money, and one of those ways is to just take your stuff. Yeah, this is real. And in fact, they don't only just sell it. As a real estate investor, I have personally experienced that this very thing right here in the Jackson metro area. One of the reasons why I no longer put out for rent signs around any of my properties. When I found out that there were people that drive around to see what's for rent and what's for sale, and they literally go on these different sites and they post stuff. I had somebody to come to me that I had talked to and been in communications with about one of my properties, and she said, when we got to the money part, she said, well, that's not how much you had it listed for online. What? Online? I didn't have my property listed online. She said, yes, ma'am, you did. I said, no, ma'am, I didn't. She said, yes, ma'am, you did. I said, no, ma'am, I didn't. She said, well, let me just show it to you then. And guess what she showed me? My property. It was online, but I didn't list it. I didn't list it. So what happens is people will do that. They will list your property. They will interact with potential buyers or renters, and they will collect the money. And then they leave. They're gone. After they collect the deposits, they're gone. Okay? Now, let's talk about how this estate impersonation scam works. Well, first of all, they ride around and they find a target. They find things that are vacant or, things that may be listed for sale or for rent. They assume the identity of the seller. That's my stuff. Okay? Once they do that, they take out their own listing on the property. And then they close the deal. Pastor Joe is looking confused over that. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Don't try it. I don't recommend you try it, but it is a real thing. So here are some red flags. If you see something listed, especially if it's for sale, and it seems significantly below market value, you might need to question that one. Now here's the real thing, real clincher right here. If they in a hurry, we got to get this deal done today. Can you close today? How soon can we close it? They're motivated, but they're overly motivated, right? Communication seems a little off. Like you can't meet them in person. They don't want to come on camera, on video conferences, no phone call. Everything just seems off. It's red flag. And then when we start talking about that money, oh, you can only send it by wire transfer or cryptocurrency. That's the only way we can accept payment. Did anybody see the national news yesterday? Anybody see the 5? You saw it. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, gentleman, I felt so bad for him. He was an older gentleman. And basically, I don't know how these people convinced him that he needed to come up with all this money, and he was at one of these machines. It's like a ATM, but it was a Bitcoin machine. And he was literally feeding the money into that machine as fast as he could, and the police officer came up and said, "Sir, stop. This is not real." His son saw these transactions coming through his bank account, and he called law enforcement. So he sent them there, and I'm on the phone with my bank, and they're telling me that my account has been compromised, and I gotta send this, on they only take it in cryptocurrency. Well, guess what happens when you send something by cryptocurrency? Kind of gone at that point. It disappears because it goes into la la land at that point. We don't know. And the target for these type schemes are really generally vacant properties, something that's vacant or has been unoccupied for a while. Okay, so we got to watch out for these estate impersonation scams. So how can we do that? What can we do? Verify the identity of the people that you are dealing with. That is a real thing. You want to deal with people that are reputable people, so that you know that the people you are doing business with are not scheming and scamming you. So I would say use a title company or a realtor when closing your transactions. Be cautious of online deals. We've all been told if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Demand in-person meetings when possible. Now, sometimes it's not possible if your seller is in another state, but if you can't communicate with anybody, stuff starts getting kind of shaky, that communication, that might be a red flag. And then when the money gets funny, and they insist that you do things certain ways, you might want to kind of question what's going on there. So these are called estate impersonation scams. Deed fraud. Deed fraud. Can you imagine this? People literally will change a deed. Imagine that. Imagine that. Deed fraud. It is what it sounds like it is. Deed fraud occurs when criminals use forged or fraudulent documents, again, to illegally transfer the ownership of a property from the rightful owners to themselves. Now, why would they want to transfer it to themselves? What they gonna do with it? Anybody? Somebody? Pastor Joe, what they gonna do with it when they transfer it? They're going to sell it. Absolutely right. They are going to sell it. Now, this is how this scam works. Pretty similar to that estate impersonation scam. They find the target. They commit some form of identity theft. They forge some documents, get them notarized. Sometimes that even involves some underhanded things too, that notarization. And then they go quickly record that deed so that they can close the deal, monetize that theft real quick. And again, everything is fast at that point. Has to sell right then. So, wanted to give you some real life cases. I want you to listen to a few things that have actually occurred. This one is called the Brooklyn Brownstone Scheme of 2023. Here's the crime. A woman inherited her mother's Brooklyn brownstone worth $2.1 million. While settling the estate, criminals monitored the public death records and property transfers. They forged documents claiming to be distant relatives with inheritance rights, filed a fraudulent deed, and sold the property to a legitimate buyer for $1.8 million. Now, the rightful heir discovered the fraud 6 months later when she was trying to transfer the deed into her name. 6 months too late. The property had already changed hands twice by that point. She spent $180,000 in legal fees over 3 years fighting to reclaim what was hers. $180,000, 3 years. Okay? The new homeowners. Now, see, she wasn't the only victim, because remember, they sold it for $1.8 million. The new homeowners, innocent victims themselves, lost their life savings and faced homelessness. We wonder how a lot of these people are homeless. We pass judgment. Sometimes folks get schemed. Yeah, real thing. I want to know the outcome. After a lengthy court battle, ownership was restored to the rightful heir, but she had to compensate the innocent buyers $400,000 as part of the settlement, and the criminals were never caught. That happened in 2023. Here's one from 2022. The crime. An organized group targeted vacant properties in Chicago owned by out of state residents. They used stolen identities to forge quitclaim deeds and recorded them with the county. The criminals then took out home equity loans totaling 4.2 million across 12 properties before disappearing. Impact of that, the property owners discovered the fraud when they received foreclosure notices. They didn't even know. They received foreclosure notices from the bank seeking to recover unpaid loans they never applied for. Now, they don't say this, and I don't know, but what you want to bet? After they got that $4.2 million, they didn't make not one payment. What y'all think? They ain't made a payment. Nah, they gone. Gone in the wind. Now, impact of this, $50,000 to $100,000 in legal fees, 2 to 4 years in litigation, damaged credit scores, stress and emotional trauma. And the outcome, all 12 homeowners eventually proved fraud and cleared the illegitimate loans, but 5 members of the ring escaped prosecution by fleeing to another country. So they got that $4 million. They left the country. Only 3 were convicted and sentenced to federal prison. So there are a couple of more, but for time's sake, we're going to keep it moving. I just wanted to give you some real life examples so that you can see that this is a real thing. And I'm fortunate in my case that the young lady brought it to my attention before she was defrauded out of her deposit money. Okay. So how do we protect ourselves from deed fraud? Okay. A lot of things we can do. First of all, monitor our property records. Does anybody ever do that? Just periodically look and see if your property is still in your name. Well, maybe we need to start. Seriously. How else will we know if somebody has changed or forged the documents? Securing our personal information. I worked for the government for about 10 years, and I didn't hear this once, I didn't hear it twice, I heard it multiple times about securing your personal information. That's everything from how you get rid of even the stuff that comes in the mail. A lot of times you can't just throw stuff in the garbage. You got to shred some of that stuff. We got to get rid of things in certain ways. So being very careful about the security of our documents. What about when we go out of town? Do we make sure that somebody is collecting the mail or that the mail has stopped? We've communicated with the post office to hold the mail until we get back? Because people could literally, and it's a crime to go in other folks' postal box, but still, people do it. Yeah, they do it. So we got to take some security measures. Digital security. Of course, anybody that does anything that requires any online access, now we've gone to this, two-factor authentication, and sometimes I just put my password in and I got to remember my PIN, but there's a reason for all that. Or if they got singing that little code, there's a reason, because people have gotten very savvy with how they fraud. Credit protection. Does everybody in here had some type of credit monitoring program, right? Say we do. It's not that much, you guys. I encourage you, if you can put it in your budget, please do. You will get alerts whenever anybody pulls your credit or tries to open anything in your name, and that's so important. I'm going to share a personal story. I'm going to tell some of Freddie's business. Just last week, we received a letter saying that somebody had applied for something and it was denied. So I looked at Freddie. I said, "Did you apply?" "No, I didn't apply for nothing." So what does that mean? Somebody did. And I'm so glad they got denied. Because think about it. If they had gotten approved, they could be spending. So it's important now that we add these credit monitorings to our profile. And I strongly encourage us to think about that, you guys, because it's not too many months that pass by when we're not receiving something that says there's been an Equifax breach, or TransUnion breach, or somebody else breach, right? Bank of America breach, Wells Fargo, somebody's information has been breached. So our information is out there on that black web, and we need to protect it. Now, deed fraud, how to protect from scams. Of course, legal protections. What's that first one up there? Create a living trust to transfer the property into the trust. Now, is that going to prevent them? A real fraudster is going to do what a fraudster is going to do. But it makes it a little bit more difficult to just change it, because at that point, there are some things that's required. Being the trustee of the trust, they can't just go and transfer. It's going to be a little bit more of a hassle for them to do it that way. Okay, our LLCs holding properties, our rental properties, those of us that are investors holding those properties in a legal entity as opposed to just having them in our names. And of course, we see limited power of attorney on there, and we know that we have a way now of making sure that everybody in here, if you don't have it, that you get that document, limited power of attorney, because we can help you with that. Staying connected to your properties. People that have properties out of state, you have to put some things in place. Your primary resident, maintaining relationships with your neighbors. Imagine that. We got to talk to our neighbors now again. Someone we hadn't talked to in a while. I'm guilty. My neighbor is messy, y'all. I promise he is. But I love him. I pray for him, Bishop. I keep praying for him. Maybe he'll get better. And leave me and my dog alone. And vacation rental properties. Of course, don't let that property just sit vacant, especially if it's out of state. Hire a manager, somebody that's going to look after that property. Install cameras. And these smart cameras that they have, and the smart locks, because people have gotten savvy. I don't know if you guys have seen on the internet where there are people that will actually go and take over other folks' property. They're called squatters. And they'll have like parties and all kind of stuff going on up in people's property. Yeah, so you have to be very careful. Technology, of course, is available. I'm not going to go through all of these, but because I want to keep moving. Undue influence scams. Now, this one, we'll just get into it. When undue influence basically means when someone uses their power or authority to unfairly influence someone else's decision. Now, based on that definition, who do you think would be impacted by these type scams? The elderly, the vulnerable, yeah. And it's generally they're using their influence for whose benefit? Their own personal benefit, okay? So let's talk about how these scams manifest themselves. Financial exploitations, of course, they're going for the money, right? Scammers may manipulate elderly individuals into giving away money or assets, like that gentleman on the news yesterday. Sometimes with wills and trusts, an individual may be coerced into changing over their estate documents. They didn't really want to do it, but this person kind of forced them, made them feel bad or guilty. Emotional manipulation, exploiting their emotions and emotional ties. Read that book, you guys. I talk about that. There are a couple of sections in the book that this presentation really speaks to. Chapter 8 and 9. 8 and 9, abuse of trust and breach of trust. Okay? This is abuse at its best when we use our influence, to basically scam people out of things that we know we should not have. Okay? Now, how do we protect ourselves from undue influence scams? Being aware of vulnerabilities and those who are vulnerable. Sometimes it may require for us to speak up and just say, that ain't right. And that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Some of our elderly, we have to protect them, okay? Encourage open communication. Foster an environment where individuals feel comfortable talking about estate planning and their decisions. Got to foster that for them. And then seeking legal advice when necessary. When we see it's going on, we know it's happening, then we may need to encourage people to seek legal advice to make sure that they are protected. Now, talk about this in my book, and again, I'm going to put personal business out there. I'm talking about my mama this time, not myself. You read the book, And I actually give an example that happened in our family of someone who used undue influence to persuade someone to change some things. And I think they actually used some other things as well with that undue influence to change some inheritance proceeds, how they were distributed. It is what it is. It's a real thing. It happens. She's shaking her head. She knows who I'm talking about. Okay. Now, this one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I wrote a whole chapter in the book that I want you to read. Chapter 9, Breach of Trust, Fake Advisor Scams. Okay. All I will say, I'll just put it like this. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. A lot of people out there. They come to you as legit advisors. Watch out for them. Watch out. They're out there. So I read the book, read it. It's in there. Okay? Inheritance scams. Now, how many of us just dream of the day when we can go to the mailbox and get that letter out that says we have inherited. We have inherited. Our great great uncle was a rich king over in Africa, and he died, and he thought about us, Nigeria. Yes. How many of us dream of that day? It's coming. We got about as much chance of that as we have of winning the Powerball. But hey, keep hope alive, I guess. So what is that inheritance scam? You guys have heard of it. It is the specific type of scam that uses a tale of a person who's now deceased and has left their estate to an intended victim of scam. This victim of scam, okay? So it kind of looks like this. One common version is the bank executive scam, in which you get a letter and it looks legit. It sounds like this person is claiming that they're the executor of a wealthy person's estate, and that they've searched, and you're the last heir, the only heir. And I mean, it's all this money, and all you have to do is just send us, $5,000 or $10,000, and you're going to get like $5 million. That doesn't sound like a bad deal, right? And send you 5, you send me $5 million, right? Okay, but guess what happens? You send that money, and what happens? You never hear from them again. You try to call, you try to write, you try to email, no more communication. It's a scam, you guys. Ain't nobody left us nothing. They ain't leaving us nothing. That's why we have to get our own business right while we're here. So that's how the inheritance scam works. Now, here's another version. It's an older variation. I thought this one was interesting. A criminal may befriend, again, an older person, taking advantage of the elderly, pass themselves off as an orphan who is in line to inherit a fortune, but is tied up in the probate process. Well, all I need is a loan. Can you give me just a little bit of a loan until my money comes in? How many times we heard that? How many times have we heard that? And it never works, okay? So once you give them the loan, they gone and the money never came in. They say it's coming on Friday. They just never say which Friday, right? It'll be here Friday. Check is coming. It's in the mail. All right, so how do we protect ourselves from these inheritance scams? Well, if you get that letter and first of all, you don't even know all your uncles and your aunts. So you don't know your great uncles or your great uncles, right? You don't know them folks. So when they send you that letter and they say that's who they are, no, probably not. And then when you read further and they start talking about they left you a $5 million estate, nah, just go on and tear that letter up. Go on and tear it up. I'm just being honest with you. It's doubtful. Sensitive personal information. A lot of times these people will try to trick you and say, well, I can send it to you, but you need to send me your bank account information. You need to send me your date of birth. You need to send me your social security number so we can make sure that it comes to you. We have the right person. But what do they do when they get all that information? That's part of the scam too, right? So we have to be careful with sharing that type of information. If you think there's a chance, if you think that God is good, we know he's good all the time, and this very well could be that uncle that mama used to talk about. We ain't heard from him in a while, but this may be him. If you think it's legit, please do your own research. Don't just fall for it, because it could be. It could be. But do your research. Make sure you know some things before you start sharing things. And then remember, if they're claiming to be a legitimate law firm, the executives are not going to ask you to pay a fee in exchange for your information. They're trying to find you. Why would they charge you? And they're trying to find you to settle the estate. That makes sense. Think about it. Now, insurance manipulation scams. I hope that none of us ever get caught up in these, because the reality is when you pay insurance, you pay it for assurance, right? That if something happens and you should need it, that it will be available to cover, your loss. Well, imagine paying premiums for years and years and years. And then the one time that you filed a claim, you find out you don't even have insurance. Well, what y'all talking about? Who been getting my money all this time? That's what insurance manipulation scams are. They involve deceptive practices that can lead to significant financial losses and emotional distress. These scams exploit the trust of individuals and businesses in insurance systems, often targeting those shopping for coverage where? Online, okay? So you can get caught up in these insurance manipulation scams, okay? Let me give you a couple of real life examples of what these look like. Just a couple of real life examples. All right, so the $500,000 lesson. A Texas business owner thought he had a $500,000 commercial insurance policy until a fire destroyed his shop and his claim was denied. Turns out the agent who sold him the policy was a fraudster. Took his money and ran. Lesson learned, always verify before you buy. Okay, that was a very expensive lesson to learn. Okay, this one is called, next one is the fake auto insurance agent. In 2022, a California man was arrested for selling fake car insurance policies to over 100 victims. He pocketed the premiums while his clients unknowingly drove uninsured. Many only found out after getting into accidents and having their claims denied. Make you want to double check your agent before you hand over the money, right? Okay. All right. And then this is another one that I thought that was pretty interesting. These staged accidents and fake injury claims. The classic con is called. So a Florida cafe owner was sued when a customer claimed she slipped on a wet floor. The lawsuit fell apart when security footage revealed she poured water on the floor before falling. More of the story, if you run a business, install security cameras, okay? And we have to remember, in all honesty, if you are going to do something like that, just know that even if they don't have security cameras, people are always watching and always videoing. So just know that that's not a good idea, okay? Let's see, one more. I'm going to go over this one. Let's see, the social media insurance trap. Real life insurance company. Ghost brokers set up fake insurance websites or social media pages offering cheap policies. Once you pay, they disappear. They're gone. Identity theft via insurance fraud. Scammers steal personal details to file false claims, open policies, or take out loans in your name. So it's all kind of ways that we could be scammed with insurance, and this could cost us dearly. Just think about it. If you are in an accident and you think you have insurance, whether it's car insurance or home insurance, let's say somebody comes on your property and they get injured, okay? And you think, well, I have homeowners insurance, I have coverage, liability coverage, and you find out you don't. Whoa, that could put everything at risk. Because we're talking about real estate now and making sure that we are protecting our estate. So be careful of those scams. So, how to protect yourself from insurance manipulation scams? To protect against these type scams is crucial to verify the legitimacy of your insurance providers. Obtain quotes directly from reputable insurers and remain vigilant in the process of shopping for insurance. We got to be careful. Got to be careful. All right, and that brings us to, this is a whole conversation right here, y'all. Y'all ready for this one? Y'all ready for this one? These AI scams. They're out there. AI is a real thing. That's a beast, man. So, artificial intelligence, what is it? Anybody, somebody, what is it? It's not real. You sure about that? You don't think it's real? I tell you, that stuff can get so real it'll have you scratching your head. We're going to talk about it. Artificial intelligence, technology that mimics human thinking and learning. It mimics it. We teach it, and then it mimics it. Okay? It powers the voice on your phone. Anybody got this? Anybody wake up in the morning, hey Siri. That's AI. It's AI technology. Okay? Or you know how sometimes you are having a conversation with somebody and you may say a word or something and then you go online and you see like everything that's in your feed has that word or that topic that it's like, oh, it's like it read my thoughts. Guess what? It did. It did. That's what it's designed to do. Okay? That's scary, isn't it? All right? So we're going to talk about this passage, y'all. Now, online AI real estate scams involve the use of artificial intelligence to create those things that we talked about, those fake property listings, those forged documents, or chat boxes that impersonate real estate agents. These scams can be particularly dangerous because they can mimic real estate agents' voices so well. They can generate fake photos and create entire fake personas that make the scams seem legitimate. I mean, AI can mess you up. Sometimes you get that phone call. Y'all get it, I get it. Hello? You send that, and this is how you know. Anytime there's a pause when you answer the phone, that's AI. That is not a real person. Please be careful. Please be careful. Don't even say hello. Hang up. Because your voice can be recorded, especially if you sit there, hello, like my dad, hello, hello, hello. My dad, that's how I talk about him. Hello. He's getting better though. He's getting better. He is now. He says, I don't recognize the number, and he won't answer. Okay. So let's talk about some of these AI scams, okay? Now, again, that first one we want to talk about is called the voice clone scam. So if you were to get a Bishop, we're going to start with you. You have your grandchildren at home. So let's say they were out at a football game or some event, and you received a phone call. And you know your children. You know their voices. And it sounds like your baby, your grandbaby. And that baby is saying, I'm hurt. Something is wrong. I need you to come get me. I need you to come send me some money so I can get out of this. How would you respond, you think? It sounded like them. They're in distress. You've had those calls. Yeah. How did you respond? Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. When there's that urgency, and that's the thing with all of this stuff, you guys, there's a small window of opportunity. So there's always an urgency to do something right now. Right now. I gotta have it, we're hurt. I gotta have it right now. That's where they get you. So please be careful, because what you think you know in terms of voice recognition, this AI is getting so good now, man, you don't know whether you know it or not until you're faced with it. And what they're doing is, one scheme they have that's going around with this voice clone, they'll wait until the middle of the night when people are disoriented, and the phone will ring, and you'll hear a voice on the other side that sounds like someone you know. Help, help, I'm hurt, help, they have me. And then they'll say, you have so much time to come up with so much money, or we're going to do something to this person. So you have to be careful. And one of the things that I would say, make sure that you do in that instance is have some way within your family, a safe word that only you know, so you can verify, whether or not that's legit. So that's one, that voice that voice clone, okay, voice clone scam. The second one, I thought you would find this one interesting. It's called the deep fake celebrity or the pastor scams. Okay? We've seen these fake videos of celebrities like Denzel and Oprah. You see them all the time. They're selling and they're endorsing all of these different products, which we know they're not, right? Y'all do know that's not them, right? Okay. They're endorsing investments, and now scammers are creating fake clips of pastors or community leaders asking for donations. These videos look very real, the voices sound real, and the messages seem sincere, but it's all fake. All fake. So if you're in doubt, go check the source. Now, when that phone rings or you see these videos, call Bishop up and say, now, is this you? Is this you I see? Oh, you I see online? Because you could very well be getting schemed, okay? All right, here's another one. It's called the AI romance scam. Romance scam. You meet someone online, they're charming, attentive, say all the right things. You start to trust them, maybe even fall for them. But behind that pretty profile picture is a bot, not even a real person. Okay? AI generated photos, AI written messages, even fake video calls that look real. Then one day, what's coming? What they gonna ask you for? They're gonna ask you for some money. And that's when the heartbreak hits your wallet. Cause see, by the end, we all in love, and oh, he makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I may as well help him out. I help her out. All righty, so be careful. This one is called the job or loan scam. Okay? These scams target people looking for opportunity. Okay? They send AI generated emails offering remote work. Anybody seen those? You can work from home, or fast approval loans. I get those all the time. Oh my God, they want to give me so much money. They sound so legitimate, even professional. But then they ask for the training fees, ID copies, or your banking info. So you have to be really, really careful. And I get on my kids about this all the time, because and I know things are different now. There are some legitimate opportunities where, not a lot of people do the what we remember as the you go and you fill out the application and you talk to somebody face to face. A lot of things have changed in the workforce. So you have to be very cautious with providing people information. Sometimes it is legit, but other times it's not, okay? All right, Bishop, here's another one I think you might find interesting. It's called the church fund scam, okay? Church and community donation scams. Scammers use AI to copy a pastor's voice, and call members asking for donations to, to, to a funeral fund, or an urgent need. It feels like you helping the family, but it's not real. It's not real. So, see that, Pastor Joe? Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. It's and the thing is, again, it sounds like it's coming from the pastor. You think you're hearing their voice, and they may even have a video. Sometimes, though, if you watch them and you watch them really closely, the voice and the mouth won't quite align. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of tell. Then there's the phishing scam. You guys know what phishing is, right? These are those emails or texts that go out, and they always claim that they come from where? Your bank, your job, even Amazon. I mean, Amazon. I got one earlier today. I took a picture of it, and I meant to add it to the slide, from FedEx. FedEx is your package is in suspension, and yeah. I hadn't even ordered anything. Okay, they use AI to sound professional and personal. They might say your payment failed, or verify your account. Do not, and I repeat, do not click on that link. Do not click on that link. Instead, if you feel like you have some business that you need to conduct with whatever the entity is, go directly to their site. Okay, these things that come from your bank, they may look like they're your bank. What I always do to verify, like I did with the FedEx, I always click on the sender. When you click on the sender information, like it may have FedEx at first, just the name, but if you click on it, it will have an email listed with it. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a name you don't recognize. So do not click on those accounts, on those links, I'm sorry. All right, the fake support chat box. You're online and a chat box pops up offering help, okay? It looks official, but sometimes it's a scammer in disguise. So you have to be very careful, and especially now that it's the holiday season and a lot of people will be doing online shopping. You know, a lot of that stuff will pop up. You got to be very, very careful. Here's another one. Counterfeit refund scams. Fake receipts and refunds. You might get an email saying you were charged for something you didn't buy with the number to call for your refund. You call, the agent says they'll fix it, but instead they gain access to your computer or your bank account. Okay? Never give people information. When they start calling, I just need you to verify what you call me. You should know. You should know. Why do I need to verify that? You call me. Right? So be very, very careful with that. Marketplace image scams. AI can now create realistic product photos of things that don't exist. Designer bags, shoes, electronics, all fake. If the price sounds too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. Be very careful, because usually those are going to ask for you to pay through those apps, Cash App, Zelle, stuff where, once the money is gone, it's just gone. So be very careful. And then this one is called, this is the last one before the last one. Scammers, this is called the government or benefit scam. I'm sure you all have seen this one too. Scammers pretend to be from the IRS, Social Security, or some other benefit office. They use AI voice systems that sound exactly like government agents, and they'll threaten jail or some type of fines unless you pay immediately. Got to pay immediately. Remember, okay, this is from somebody that worked for the government, y'all. We ain't calling nobody up, threatening them. In fact, most of the communication that we did was by mail, okay? We didn't do a whole lot of communication by phone, okay? So please don't fall for that. If they call and say they're from, the county and we're going to be there to arrest you in 30 minutes, meet us at the bank, don't fall for that. And then with the holiday coming up, holiday season, we know that, there are people that will be very intentional during the holiday season about getting your money. Those what do they call, the skimmers on the credit card processors? Be very aware. I saw something on the news, I think either yesterday or day before yesterday. They're already finding them. They will be out there. We have to be very vigilant about that. If you see websites with deals that seem unbelievable, fake shipping text saying, click here to reschedule delivery, and fake charity drives. This is that time of year where everybody is soliciting. Be very careful. Be very, very careful. So those are some of the online scams that are out there. Again, how do we protect ourselves from these things? Doing just what we're doing right now, staying informed, being aware of what is out there and what people are able to do using AI technology. Verify communications. Don't just assume that because it sounds like someone and we think it's that person, that it is. And be cautious with using links, clicking on those links, because they very well could be directed somewhere else. All right, so this is a thought I wanted to end with tonight. We have talked about our wealth. We've talked about building our wealth. Tonight we've talked about how to protect some things. But what I wanted to leave us with was not the overwhelming thought of what people can do with AI technology, or, the fraudsters, the scammers. I don't want to leave us with that thought. What I want us to remember is we're not even supposed to be storing up our treasures on this earth. We're not. We are supposed to store them where moth and rust won't destroy them, because that's what happens on earth. They get destroyed. They get stolen. Thieves break in and they steal. But when we store up our treasures in heaven, moth not coming there, dust not going to destroy it, and thieves are definitely not going to break in and steal. Okay? So I want us to really focus our minds on those things. Be vigilant with the information that we have provided for you in protecting yourself through the holiday season and moving forward. And just realize we have some things to do when it comes to our estate and securing our estate. One story I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to go take my seat. Just yesterday, my mother and I had some business to take care of that took us to the Rankin County Chancery Clerk's office. When I got inside, I happened to notice there was a young lady there at the counter. And you know how you see somebody from the side and you think you recognize them? And I went up to her, and it was the person that I thought it was. And she said she was there because she had received some disturbing information and she was trying to take care of some business. Well, bottom line, and this all ties into what we're talking about tonight. Another way that we can be defrauded when it comes to our estates is through our own families. We can. Her situation was one where, based on what I heard, it appeared that family members had been entrusting one family member to pay the property taxes. They had been putting the money in that person's hand. Well, person didn't really do it. Well, they kind of sort of did it. They paid them, but they didn't pay them on behalf of the family. They paid them on their behalf. And so the property had transferred to the family member, and the family member had, what do people do once they get control? Well, we talked about it all night tonight. What do? They sell it. They monetize it. And that's exactly what her relative had done. Took control of the property, sold it to someone else, and now she was down there arguing with those people as if they could do something about the fact that, it was legitimate. Just think about this. Before any of us go run to these county buildings fussing with these employees, they have a job to do. Their job is, I went yesterday and I took a deed with someone on their behalf. They didn't ask us to verify anything. Their job is to take that paperwork, process it, and record it in their book. That's what they do. They don't verify signatures. That's not what they do. So we have to be careful, even at who we vent our frustrations and our anger to when these things occur, and just be vigilant that they will occur. But I want us to really think about family and the fact that family, unfortunately, can be fraudsters. They could be the very people that are scamming us. So there are times when we need to really have some serious conversations about how these taxes are going to be paid. There are times when we need to be vigilant about doing our estate planning properly. And if we plan properly, our family shouldn't even have to worry about that, because we have our business fixed where we leave behind enough in resources so the taxes can be paid, and we leave responsible people in place to make sure that it's done. So on that note, I want to thank you for your time and your attention, and we certainly hope that we have shared something tonight that will be beneficial to you and that will help you. And if it doesn't help you, please share it with others, because there may be some other people out there that are not knowledgeable of the fact that people are literally defrauding people and taking their estates. So with that being said, I thank you for your time, your attention, those that have been here with me all 7 weeks. It has been my pleasure to present this information to you. Those of you that are online, if you are viewing for the first time, we encourage you to go back and review all of the different weeks of presentations and encourage other people to do the same. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for Dr. Williams. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It has been a wonderful, wonderful 7 weeks of estate planning and training. And on behalf of New Horizon Church Rankin, we want to thank Dr. Williams for an excellent job, well done. It has been good. It really has been good. And as she said, we want to thank everybody who has joined us, for folks who've been here in person as well as everybody online. Thank you for your presence. And I know you got something, okay? I know you've been blessed by what you've heard. And so let's make sure we don't just hear it, but let's make sure that we really now apply it, okay? And do some good things with what we have heard. For everybody that's online as well, we want to invite you to come